Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while, but today I got something for you, and it's gonna be a treat. And this month, some of you may not know it, but it is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, which is a topic that a lot of men really fail to talk about because a lot of them probably grew up not knowing, that they were dealing with mental health issues, and a lot of it is not our parents' fault because if you look at it, their parents may have been through it as well, and we were taught to be a certain way. So we're going to talk about that today, and I'm saying we because I have a special guest today, and I got my guy Dave here. Yeah. Appreciate you joining me, man. Appreciate you joining me. So I'm going to have Dave kick it off and just kind of, introduce himself, because the way we met, I'm telling you, I really believe, that God put us in the place or in the company of people and for a reason. But I'm going to let him, kind of introduce himself and we'll go on with this.
Yeah, man, it's funny. Like, I felt like I've known you for forever. We had that chance encounter while I was working at Radio 1. I think you came to visit. It was July 13th. Yep. Don't ask me how I remember the day. It's because it was 713 day. It was very easy to remember. But from there, man, we were able to just establish a really, really dope relationship online. I've always admired how you carried yourself in public. Man of integrity, super duper fly. You know what I'm saying? Even in just a plain black tee, man, I'm saying the swag exudes. But no, man, I've considered it an honor just to for you to invite me into your world and into your space. But yeah, man, like you said, my name's Dave. I'm just a regular kid from the southwest side of Houston, Texas, man. Grew up in A-Leaf, went to Elsick High School with dreams of making it to the NBA. However, I'm just short of 6 feet. I'm the stereotypical white kid, right? I couldn't jump. I wasn't very fast, but boy, you better guard me from half court. You know what I'm saying? I could shoot your lights out. But when my hoop dreams died after my dad had got locked up with his 8th or 9th DWI, I kind of put basketball to the side, got mixed up with the wrong crowds, started getting involved in some questionable activities. Luckily, nothing landed me in jail, and I was able to get back on track for college. But since then, man, got married, had 5 kids, built an incredible family, got divorced, have an amazing co-parenting relationship, which a lot of people who rock with me know. Done a lot of really, really cool things throughout my career, from education to, being an Amazon best-selling author. Been able to pick up a camera and do some things with that, shoot a couple of celebrities. And then it's funny how you shoot a few celebrities and everybody wants to work with you after that. It don't even matter if you're good or not. I am pretty good, though. I am pretty good. But even before all that, man, my rise to, I wouldn't say fame because I never considered myself famous, but the way I kind of generated my wealth was in the wedding industry. I was a DJ growing up as a kid and got into the wedding business. And from there, really, really took it serious and turned it into a business where we had, 10 employees on staff at one point, office. We were doing 350 weddings a year, added photo booths. And so I've always been very creative, but I don't know if it was my grandmother or my dad's love of numbers, but I was also able to go from creative to very business savvy and monetize the things that I was creative at. So that's kind of what I've been doing these years, man.
Yeah, see, and just from listening to you, man, we got a lot in common, and I think that's kind of how how we clicked and how we vibed, from the time that we met, because my audience know that I shoot a little bit myself, into music. So
yeah, I ain't gonna lie, man. I kind of I saw some of your shots, and that's one thing I do. I like to steal or borrow, if you will, and I'll see some of your natural lighting shots because I like doing studio sessions. But I'll be like, dang, man, just the natural light stuff that you've been able to do. And so, I from time to time, I try to copy your stuff.
Hey, it's all good. We all take a little inspiration from each other, regardless of what it may be, music, visuals or whatever. But yeah, man, again, I'm happy to be in your company, man, and be able to chop it up with you. And I think that, kicking this conversation off, is very important. I think that a lot of men, especially these days, I'm in my 40s. I'm 47. I'm knocking on 50, but I'm gonna enjoy my 40s while I can.
Man, I just entered into the 40 club, man. Thanks for the welcome.
But the 40s, I think, has been, man, the greatest ride of my life. One person told me when I was 39, she was like, when you turn 40, you're gonna have a good time. And I was like, there's no way. I was feeling depressed.
Yeah.
But really, man, she wasn't lying. Turned 40 and I've been having a good time. But you know, it has
So
been.
you living it up in Hawaii, man. Hold on. That's what. Yeah.
We're gonna talk about that, yeah, because it comes with, it's advantages, I should say. 47. I know I've experienced a lot of life to be able to help others as well, especially for a lot of the things that I've been through, and I think that a lot of men struggle with sharing a lot of the things that they've been through, and I think in my journey over the past 3 years, for sure. Because I was divorced as well. I'm divorced as well, 3 years ago, unfortunately. But I can tell you, I've learned a lot from that. And God has taken me through or down a path that I didn't realize I would even be on. Many years ago, I know Dave just mentioned Hawaii, but I remember many years ago, I went through a state of depression right after the divorce, or leading up to the divorce, I should say. And I told a friend of mine at the time, I was like, man, I just wish I'm cutting everybody off. I wish I was by myself on an island, just alone, just by myself. And then she
You gotta be careful what you wish for.
that's exactly what she said. You got to be careful what you wish for. And then a couple of years after I made that statement, my company that I work for, my manager was like, hey, man, I got an assignment for you, because I travel a lot for work. And he's like, the assignment is in, he said, get your Hawaiian shirts packed. And I'm like, where is he going with this? He said, man, I'm going to have to send you to Hawaii. So I ended up going to Hawaii. I thought I was only going to be there for a month.
It's like, oh man, you gotta go to Hawaii, like for real, like.
Man, I'm telling you, I was like, I didn't know, I had mixed feelings. I didn't know whether to be excited or whether to be, I didn't know how to feel. Because I know I had a teenage son. He just graduated high school, but at the time he was just entering the 12th grade. And
That's a big season. Huge. Of life for a high schooler.
And a teenager, man. And I tell you, I took the assignment. I prayed on it, took the assignment, and ended up being there 7 months. And I tell you, it was a journey that a lot of people see the pictures and they see the reels on Instagram and Facebook and all this, but it was a journey.
You ain't post the $9 per gallon gas photo. You didn't post none of that.
Post a $450 a week grocery bill for one person.
Yeah, God, dog. I don't even pay that for 5. You know what I'm saying?
It was crazy, man.
I'm food.
It was crazy, but I learned a lot, and I think being in solitude. Well, I know being in solitude, a lot could be revealed to you. So my question to you before I dive deeper into what I had going on is, why do you feel, men struggle with, opening up and really just, sharing how they feel and allowing their emotions to just ring out?
Yeah. I think it's a couple things, man, and I've had a lot of time to think about that as well. You mentioned going through a state of depression. I did also when I went through my divorce. Mine was more so like an identity thing. Like my entire identity was wrapped up in being a father and a husband. Nothing else. It wasn't wrapped up in a career. Like I didn't care about being a DJ or being any of the other things. I was a father and I was a husband. So when that was over, I didn't know what to do, right? Like it was almost like that professional athlete who's played ball, like the same sport their entire life, and then they don't know what to do when the game is over. So I think for men have trouble opening up, I think it's a couple of things, man. It's conditioning, like how we were raised, right? Like we hear often, not so much now, but I know when we were growing up, it wasn't common for men to share their feelings or share their emotions unless they were on like the field or on the court. It's cool when you show passion in those moments, but don't nobody want to see you crying when you hurt emotionally, right? And so, we had male role models who would say, man, suck it up, man. Like get it together. Like don't let nobody see you cry. Don't show weakness. It was a sign of weakness. And then growing up too, like many people were in the same situation as myself, like growing up without a father. Even though I had a dad, he wasn't around. And so I was raised by the dudes on the block, on the street, right? The drug dealers, the pimps, the old heads, the dudes who were 20 years older than us playing basketball with us, who was like, man, that ain't no foul. If you called it foul or you wasn't bleeding, like, nah, like you ain't playing no more, cause so like that's the environment we grew up in. And then the images that we were fed on TV were no different, right? So I think conditioning played a big role. I also think, we were told to be providers. We were told to hustle. We were told to grind. We were told to work. And so, we didn't have time to feel. Right. Like I found very early in my life, I did not have time to feel, right, or at least acknowledge my emotions. And I remember it very vividly. One day, I'm operating a multi-million-dollar business, several employees. And I remember one night we had about 7 events, right? We had weddings all across Houston. We had an event in Cali. And I was supposed to go to Cali, right? I had 3 DJs call off the morning of, so I'm having to reschedule. And these are weddings, bro. These aren't like clubs where you just get anybody. Like the bride has met the DJ and built a relationship with. So I end up having to like reschedule a flight and do a wedding in Houston, reschedule a flight, a red eye for early in the morning. I get a call that the equipment, they get a flat. It's all things going on, right? That night, bro, I went into a state of shock. And I couldn't move. It was almost like paralysis. And I felt my entire body was so heavy. The sheets were like, the covers were hundreds of pounds and I couldn't move. And my wife at the time was like, what's wrong? I was like, I can't move. And it was anxiety. Yeah. It was like anxiety ridden to where it was so heavy that it physically paralyzed me. And after that, I was like, never again. So I think sometimes we just get so busy, bro, that we don't even have time to think or feel anything else.
Right. So you said something key. You said a lot there. And I think that the most important thing is to be able to feel it. A lot of times we are numb to it, and I think as men, I know as men, I was talking to my son about this the other day. It's like the pressure that we have is just, man, nobody can describe it, especially women. I'm sorry, women, but I have to really break that down to you. It's like, we love you, but hey, if we lose it all today, then our value drops significantly. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's like constantly when I'm riding around the city and I see people on the corner, if I see a man on the corner, I'm like, man, that guy probably at some point had it together. Probably. And then something may have happened that catastrophic in his life and he lost it all. And now he's not of value. And so I was telling my son, I was like, man, we constantly have to make sure that we have a plan, have a vision, and make sure that we're able to provide, because the way things are today, man, the women, they're relying on us. The kids are relying on us. Obviously, they didn't ask to be here. So the pressure is constantly on us, which led to some of my anxiety as well, because there's a lot of things that, especially if you're ambitious and you really want to go further. Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? That has a lot to do with it. Has a ton to do with it. Because if you're a complacent individual, you're okay with having a job, 9 to 5. You pay your bills, come home, watch the game, and do it all over again tomorrow. Yeah. But if you're one that wants to create an empire or a legacy or even pass on something to your family, then the pressure is going to constantly be there.
And it's pressure from all types of sources, too. It ain't just pressure from your family. Like, it's internal pressure. It's pressure from, what you see in the images. Not that you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, but, you measure kind of like where you're going and like, am I hitting these metrics? Am I hitting these goals and milestones? I fit, man.
Right. And the thing is, and I know today it's a little bit different. So back in the day, obviously men were the sole provider. And then over time, women started getting opportunities to where they were able to excel in their craft, or even you have now female CEOs and female leaders that are great, but now what has happened, some men have felt intimidated by that. And then you got some men who has accepted it, and now they got this mentality, which we're not going to talk about here, that 50-50 thing. I don't like to talk about that, but a lot of them have that mentality. But in my mind, it's just me. I want to be able to be the one to make it happen. And then whatever the young lady or the lady in my life brings to the table, then, it's like we say in Louisiana, we call it lagniappe, which is extra.
Well, hit us with the French, the Cajun. Yeah.
So we got a little lagniappe. That's fine. So what I'm saying is a lot of men feel pressure. Instead of them just taking it one day at a time and building themselves first, And obviously we do that. We're believers. We believe in prayer and allowing God to lead us. But it still doesn't, cut out the fact that a lot of men are suffering from that. Yeah. And so that's something that I really want to spend a lot of time on, is how can men get themselves out of that,
Okay, I'll tell you what I did. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor or a psychiatrist, although I've seen a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? But I'll just tell you what I experienced as a person who was juggling many things all at once, wearing multiple hats and feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. And so when I went through that period, I had to just let it all go. I had to tell myself that if I go bankrupt, I'm not dead.
Right.
You know, this ain't gonna kill me. I might have to go through a little bit of like material suffering, but I will be okay. You know, I might lose a few relationships. I was scared to fail at one thing, even though I had 50 things going on. Right. And so I went to a period where I said, you know what? I'm just going to let everything, I'm going to take my hands off the wheel off of everything. And the things that fall off, I don't need them in my life. But the things that stick, that's what I'm going to give my attention to. And ultimately, it was my family. They stuck around. There was one business that no matter what I did to try to sabotage that business, literally, like that business is still flourishing. And obviously my relationship with God, even though like I cuss God out on many occasions,
Same.
you know what I'm saying? And thank you, God, for not. I appreciate you, but I was able to be honest. And so I literally if you imagine like juggling like multiple balls or multiple things, I just let them all fall. I let everything fall, and then whatever was left, that's what I picked up and ran with.
I like that. I like that approach, man. I tell you, and that right there alone, it just helps you to be present.
Yeah.
You know, I hear that a lot, and to not worry so much about what things could happen. You know, that's basically what anxiety is. I mean, a lot of the things that you're thinking about what could happen, in most cases, I forgot the percentage numbers, but the statistics, but they don't even happen. You know, the things that you think is going to happen.
Yes.
Don't even happen.
I saw a post the other day. It says, man, we spend so much time wondering like the worst that could happen. Why don't we take that same energy and consider what is the best that could happen? Like literally, like there's so many, the wonderful world of possibility, but we don't even give that any attention. And sometimes like the more you think about something, it will come to pass. Right. I don't know what the term is for that, but
or even just manifesting it, really, or speaking it. You know, I'm starting to believe that a lot, you know, and then just like you said, like cursing God, I was like, man, God, I tell you, you know, you've been saying that you're real. The church telling us to pray and do this, but nothing's happening. But one thing I had to realize, and I'm not trying to preach to you, but I'm just being real. One thing I had to realize is that everything I prayed for, I actually got. But whenever you pray, it don't instantly just happen like that. A lot of times he sends you through different seasons, sends you through different situations. And so a lot of you know me as a guy that's into fashion. And I still enjoy fashion, but God kind of took away that obsession that I had with it because I was putting it before him. And I was just like, I got to make it happen. I got to get my clothing brand. I got to get my clothing store. I got to do this and do that. Where now I'm at a point where I'm at peace. And now I'm really looking at, okay, what is my purpose? How can I help the next man? How can I help the next lady, the next young man, next young lady? And so I think that going back to men's mental health, you know, a lot of us don't really think like that. We're moving 1,000 miles an hour, trying to figure out what we feel or think is our purpose, but then really not sitting in and being present and saying, you know what, let me focus on myself, get myself right, and then I can maybe help somebody else and share what I went through and help them to be present. You know, and so that's just kind of, I think that would help a lot of men out there who are struggling with trying to make 6 figures, you know, because I think that's the new thing. Now, back in the day, it used to be if you made 75,000, you were balling.
Man, listen, shoot, now they didn't tell. I heard that the poverty level was like 125,000 or something like that. It's crazy. I remember like trying to reach 6 figures, like that was the goal, right? And when I hit it, I was like, that's it, this it. Like it seemed like it was bill after bill, tithing, taxes. I'm like, I'm left with like a few dollars. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
Yeah, I'm like, so it's like, man, so it's like each milestone, it's like they move the mark on you, or do we move the mark on ourselves? I don't know, you know, I don't know.
And
like
inflation has a little to do with it.
Yeah, of course. I had a question for you though, man. This is a humorous one. All right, so when you were like obsessed with fashion, right? Did you find it hard to go places if you weren't on point?
You know,
like if you didn't have your hair cut, I ain't showing up, or if you know what I'm saying?
That's a great question. Because I'm gonna tell you, and I have a series that I talked about a lot about confidence. Yeah. And so for me, I never had that issue. You know, I need a cut right now. Yeah. And so
that's why I got a hat on.
So for me, I've learned how to move in rooms where it didn't matter to me, and whatever I put on, I felt so confident in what I had to where I felt like I was gonna be the cleanest in the room anyway. Not comparing myself to others, but it was because of the way I felt about what I had on. Yeah, because if you don't feel good in what you have on, like when I used to style people out and they was like, how do I look? I'm like, no, how do you feel? And if you feel good, you look good.
So that's key, because I've had wardrobes where it was like the top notch, right? The name brand, but I just didn't feel right. I felt like I was trying too hard, or I felt weird. I felt uncomfortable, and so, but it was the trendiest, you know what I'm saying, most fashionable thing at that particular time. You should be able to walk into a room, but I couldn't. Whereas I've been in other rooms where I just had on a white tee and some jeans and felt the most confident I'd ever felt. I never thought about that.
It's all about how you feel, man. And I think that, you know, a lot of men, especially now, and a lot of people in general, that they're feeling down on themselves. Maybe they gained a little weight, maybe they lost a lot of weight, and they're just not feeling good about themselves. But I'll say, if any man came to me and were like, "Hey, man, I'm down. You know, what can I do to get myself back up right now?" You know, besides prayer, I say, you know what, man, get in the gym. Get in the gym. You know, work on your appearance. You know, because if you actually not just appearance, but they say, you know, when you work out, it lowers cortisol levels. Because I didn't know much about what cortisol was, and all of that stress and anxiety I was going through was actually killing me. And so if you exercise, you know, you can lower those levels, and then I guess the bonus to that is you'll start to look better.
Right.
And then you feel better. And then so at that point, you know, you can now focus. You know, and I had to, you know, the alcohol consumption. That's a whole nother video right there.
Yeah. I had to give that up a while ago.
And man, that's good for you, brother. I tell you, 'cause it's been. I can tell you. So for me, I cut back tremendously. Yeah. But at one point, man, during my depression, I was drinking every day.
That same, and heavy. Heavy. And what they say is, you know, drowning in sorrow. Yeah. That's really what it was. That's what it was.
I didn't realize I was even doing it.
I didn't either. Yeah. I thought I could handle it because I was doing it at home. I wasn't going out and drinking and driving or making a fool of myself in public. Right. You know what I'm saying? But I was at home, so I thought it was okay until I started missing appointments or waking up late or not waking up at all. I was just like, man. So I had to put a pause on that, man.
It kills you, man. And that's a drug in itself. So a lot of men are struggling with that. A lot of people are, but for sure men, because they feel that. So for me, my excuse was it helped me go to sleep. Mm-hmm. You know, because I was taking melatonin, but all that did was gave me nightmares. So, which is the truth. So I started drinking until I finally started, you know, kind of realizing how it was really killing me. Mm-hmm. You know, and thanks to the people closest to me, you know who you are, that really helped me get past that. But I think that going back to what I was saying about, you know, getting in the gym, you know, getting yourself looking better, feeling better, and then focusing more on your finances. You know, a lot of people think that it's about how much you make, right. But really what I had to learn even recently was that it's how much you spend. Come on. You know, and for all those years that I was getting raises, even, you know, years ago when I did hit the 6-figure mark, I'm like, why am I still not seeing the fruits of my labor? And I had to realize that, bro, it's in your clset.
You got a hole in your pocket.
Yeah, you got a hole in my pocket. Yeah, I'm buying all this designer. And then every time I got a pay increase or a job promotion or more gigs on the side, whatever I was doing, I'm still spending. So once I learned, and I hate that it was just recently, I learned, well, actually after the divorce, that I had to control my spending. Yeah. You know, and so that right there alone can send a man into depression because your finances aren't together.
Yeah, it's the lifeline, man, even for a business. And I see, here's the thing. I was very good at managing money in my business. I wasn't really good at managing money in my household. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, at the time, like my wife at the time I was really good at making money. Like I was a hustler. I could go out there and get it. But I also could spend it. Yeah. And that's because when I was younger, I was involved in some things that attracted fast money. And so I developed very poor spending habits because if I needed $5,000, I could just go get it, right? And if I spent it, it's all right. I'm gonna make $10,000 next week. You know what I'm saying? Like money, it was literally like it was that easy. But I carried those. I lost the income when I gave those ways up, but I didn't lose the poor spending habits. Right. So I had to readjust in that realm. But it's funny, like finances control how you feel as a man, because I know there's been times where there was so much anxiety in my life, I didn't even want to check my bank account. Oh, I didn't even want to look because I knew, you know, and there was fear associated with that. But I want to back up though, man, because he's talking about health and how working out and how it affects you mentally and physically. I remember I had contracted viral meningitis one year, years and years and years ago. I lost 40 pounds in less than 2 weeks. I was I was out of it, right? I remember after I survived that, I go back to a follow-up visit with the doctor. I look horrible. Like I'm skin and bones, right? Beard all I look homeless. I'm a mess. I go to the doctor, seeking like, okay, how can I get my life back together? Maybe he's going to prescribe me something, right? He don't prescribe me anything. All he does is look at me. He says, go home, take a bath. He's like, go take you a shower, get you some rest, shave, go get a haircut. Like this was his advice. A medical professional, somebody who went to medical school, literally told me, go get a haircut. And, it just goes to show you how important it is to take care of yourself. And literally, that's what I did. And slowly but surely, I began to develop more habits that allowed me to like get back into a routine of life again. I couldn't even walk. Like losing that much weight in such a short amount of time, my equilibrium was off. I remember I had got up out of the bed and fell. I didn't necessarily have to learn how to walk again. It's just everything was funny.
Right, your body was probably in a state of shock. Like
yeah. But he told me go get a haircut.
And that's, hey man, you're right though. When you leave that barbershop, you sure do feel like $1 million. So that is some good advice. Clean yourself up. And for those of you who are struggling with this, go get a cut. Clean yourself up. Cater to yourself for a change. And I think a lot of times, we neglect ourselves because there's so many people that we are taking care of, and that's something that we really need to focus on. And to your point, when you mentioned earlier about how finances can really affect a man and his confidence, for sure, it's a lot of men that's going through it. I see guys, especially the guys who are doing very well financially. It seems like you see them out in public, like, man, they always got a nice looking woman. How did he get her? And I get it. They got a little money. But the minute that same individual loses it, it's kind of like the women are gone, and it's sad. But at the end of the day, you do feel better whenever you do have your finances in line. Yeah. But, it's not all about the money. If you just gather yourself, figure out where the problem is within your finances and target that, then you can get back on track.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We were talking about finances and kind of how finances really, affect men and their mental health as well. That's a topic that a lot of people really don't touch on. We focus a lot on, the way we were raised, and a lot of, men weren't really raised to understand finances, And I know my dad, when we were younger, he would try to teach us about the stock market, but, my brother and I were kind of like, man, so you want me to give you my check to go buy some stock that we don't know much about? Invisible. Right. And if we would have took his advice at a young age, then we would have been a millionaire 10 times over, probably, because this was back when we were like 16, 17 years old. But I think that, what men have to realize is that, you can fix that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You don't have to allow yourself to just go, into this state of depression because of that. But I think that a lot of people, women included, size men up, based on that and what they do for a living.
I think we do it to ourselves also. We kind of impose a sense of worth based on our net worth. Yeah. I mean, the word is in the financial phrase, net worth, right? And you tend to feel worthless if you're not making as much as you think you should. But you're right, you can fix it. And I think a reason why a lot of us don't is because it can be embarrassing. Nobody wants to really admit that they're not handling their finances well. They want to show and make it seem like they got it all together. With weight, it's easier because you can see it. Right. You can see when somebody's in shape and when they're not. You know what I mean? Like, it's very evident. And so one thing I learned is I had to get a coach and a trainer when I was trying to achieve certain physical goals. I had a speaking coach because I do a lot of speaking across the country. And when I was struggling with my finances after my divorce, I was like, why wouldn't I go get a financial coach? And so I literally paid somebody to help go through my accounts with me. I had to put my pride aside. And I said, hey, listen, if I really want to get better, like, who's going to hold me accountable? Who's going to tell me, hey, bro, you spend a little bit too much money going out every night. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe you shouldn't. Like, had I had a financial coach sooner, I probably wouldn't have struggled with alcohol as much as I did during that period, because they would have seen all the trips to the liquor store. But I think that's one of the reasons why we struggle longer, is because we're embarrassed or our pride doesn't want to admit that we got certain vices that are holding us back.
Right.
So
Yeah, you said something key there, pride.
Mhm.
And I think that, and you also, when you mentioned that a lot of us are just embarrassed to kind of look at where our situations are and even seek help. Even whenever, let's say we were married, I can speak for myself. It's like I felt being the man of the house, I'm the one that should handle finances, which I didn't think, you know what, my partner, our wife at the time, maybe she was better at it. Maybe I should have let her do it. And then so, after divorce, obviously you're having to rebuild, which most men know what I'm talking about, especially if you've been through that. That's a trying time, and that's where the depression started for me was, when reality finally hit and you're like, hold on a second. Now you have to, rebound, or not rebound, but recalibrate your mind and everything that you've done. But also you have to get yourself back together financially. And I think a lot of men don't really recover from that.
Man, probably not. I almost didn't. Like I said, I was prepared to throw in the towel. I think I did throw in the towel, man. I actually had a suicide attempt, and it was just too much for me. I was used to making a certain amount of money, wrapped up in this image. We had the big house, we had the Escalade, the Mercedes. We had, quote unquote, we had it all, right? And all of that was gone in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
So it was definitely challenging to recover, but I had to accept where I was and be completely honest with myself. This is what I got. This is what I make. This is where I'm at. Like, I can't rebuild, without a proper foundation. And if I try to build my foundation higher than what it really is, it doesn't make any sense. I had to literally say, and you know what, man, let me just back up real quick. You know what really pisses me off sometimes, or my pet peeve, is when people say, man, when you gonna bounce back? Or how'd you bounce back? I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. When I hit rock bottom, there was no bouncing. Like, it was more like a splat. Right. And I laid there for a while. You know what I'm saying? Because rock bottom, it's hard. I did not bounce back, bro. Right. I splatted out all on the floor and wallowed in it for a minute. But eventually, I slowly, like step by step, got back up. But it didn't start until I was completely honest with where I was, what I had, what I was doing, what I did to put myself in this. I stopped blaming my ex-wife. I stopped blaming people around me. I was like, bro, you're in this position and it's you, nobody else. What are you going to do? Right. So like, that was it for me.
Yeah. And so you said something interesting. So like, people expect you to bounce back. And the thing is, they don't understand, man, until you're in that situation, especially for those who haven't gone through it and they're telling you, oh man, shake that off, bounce back. It's not as easy as you think.
I was a deflated basketball. Yeah. You ever tried to dribble a deflated basketball? It was no bouncing, man, at all. I'm with you on that. No matter how hard you throw that mug.
It's something, man. And I'm gonna tell you, I'll share something with you. I was praying a lot during that time, and of course, you got child support happening. You got so much stuff going on, and I had a vision, man. A lot of people don't believe in the supernatural and having a vision. It wasn't a dream because this felt so real, man. And in this vision, man, it's like I was in this dark place in this warehouse, and there was a lot going on, a lot of moving and shaking in the warehouse. And the warehouse had like a townhome in it as well, but I can see the forklift, see different levels. So the townhome was 3 levels. I was on I went through the first level. Each level I was going through, I was seeing people I knew, but they really couldn't see me. All I was trying to do is get to my room, which was on the 3rd floor. Got to the 3rd floor, and as I got up there, I was looking for my bed, but it had a lot of things on the bed, and so I was like just standing there trying to figure out where I can lay. But then the house started swaying. All of a sudden, it threw me out in the field. So I'm now in the field, but I'm looking at the site of where I was, and it's probably about 100 yards away. And in that, everything just started to fall, crumble. And then I heard a voice. That voice said, "You will rebuild." And as it said that, it's like it felt so real. I felt like a wind in my bedroom, man. And then the building just started coming together, but it was like stone. It was like a big, sturdy building. And in that, what I gathered from that vision, I snapped out of it immediately. That was like the God telling me that, I took you through a lot. you've seen a lot, but you got a lot going on in your mind, a lot of things working. You're really trying to do it yourself because there's so many things I was trying to do at the time. That's when I was with the Silver Fox Squad and doing all this other stuff. And he wanted me to let him take control, and he was going to build me up. And then over time, I started to come out of that depression. Yeah. But it took me one day at a time, a lot of praying. And then obviously ended up in Hawaii, and I had a lot of time I spent.
It's a great place to be depressed. Man. I'm not sure. If I'm going to go through depression, Lord, put me in Hawaii, please. No, I'm just saying, I know it was tough, dog.
Being so far away, being 4,000 miles away from home, 5-hour difference in time.
Alone.
Yeah, alone. People don't understand, man. You can have all of the blue oceans, the mountains, all the surfing you want, but when you're there alone, and I purposely was there not to look for relationships and looking for people to be close with because I knew I wasn't going to be there long. You know, of course, they wanted me to stay there longer, but I had to come back home. So anyway, all I'm saying is, especially for those out there who are struggling, you have to really, at first, you have to just admit. I think you mentioned that earlier. Admit where you're at. Take a pause, evaluate your situation, and take it one day at a time. And if you do that, and you allow God to lead, and let me break that down when people don't understand when they say let God lead, meaning you manifest, you say what you want, and you say what you need, which God already knows what you need, but you allow him, because it's his plan anyway, but you allow him to orchestrate, and kind of navigate where you're going to go. You know what I'm saying? And so what I mean by that is you still continue on with the plan that you have, but if you have a closed door within that plan, just know that it was closed for a reason. Everything happens for a reason, and we have to be present in this moment and not worry about what tomorrow is going to bring because it's not promised to us.
Oh man, that faith walk is something else, man. I've always balanced with that dichotomy of walking by faith, and then as a creative like yourself, like I have certain talents and gifts and intellect. I can make some things happen, right. In my own strength. If I'm just being honest, I can go out and make $1 million without God. Right. Like I'm not saying that in an arrogant. Right. I could do it without God. But lately what God has been showing me is he's been putting me in situations where I can't do anything. Right. Like my degrees, my connections, no amount of money. God has been putting me in doors that I'd be like, I'm not qualified to be here. But that when I'm successful in those realms, I can't do anything but point back to God. I can't take credit for it. It ain't because of my pedigree. It isn't because I paid my way through here. It ain't because of who I knew. Like I said, it's all God. And so that's the faith. It's uncomfortable. It's scary because I like to be in control. I like to manipulate the variable so I know what the outcome is going to be. But God be putting me in situations where it'd be like, are you going to trust me? And I'd be like, I ain't got no choice. Like I done stepped out of the boat, Lord. Like I'm walking on water. Like if I take my eyes off you, I'm going to sink. So that's kind of where I'm at, man. I'm trusting God to do the supernatural. Because I'm in some situations right now, some rooms that I'm like, yeah, Lord, if you don't, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, but he's going to help you navigate, those rooms because otherwise you wouldn't even be in them. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's why,
But I used to avoid them. Like this is a season now where I'm like, okay, like God has always put those opportunities before me, and I'd be like, no, I ain't qualified for that. That ain't my style. That ain't for me. But now I'm like, all right, bet I'm going. Yeah. If it work, it work. If it don't work, God, that was your fault. I'm gonna blame you, Lord. Your name is on the line now, right?
That's faith. And a lot of people feel like they can't, make it out of that slump or that hole that they were in, that we were both in. Yeah, bro. And look now. So, because how long has it been since you've been?
It's been about 4 years on paper. Yeah. We went through about a 2-3 year kind of like separation up until that point. Right. So yeah, it's been some years.
Yeah. Well, look what he's brought you from, even from that point. And this is something I haven't really spoken even about openly. In my situation as far as divorce, which, obviously this segment isn't about that, but it's more so along the lines of how you can get yourself out of a situation like that. Because I've talked to several men, over the years that's gone through that, and a lot of them hadn't even recovered from that,
Man, So this is one thing I've learned. And again, not a therapist, not a counselor, not a medical professional by any means. But, you know, I did my first degree was in Christianity, so I can't speak on certain things of the Bible. I was a youth pastor for many, many years, missionary all over the world, right? So one thing I've learned, and this is practical and theological all at the same time, is there's a scripture that says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb, right? And that's where a lot of people stop. It's like we're going to say the name of Jesus and we're going to expect him to do everything. But it says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So yes, God is going to deliver, but there's also some responsibility on our part to share our story. Yeah. And I think why so many men stay wrapped up in bondage is because we believe the ideology that was pushed down our throats as kids, and that keep your mouth shut. Yeah. Don't say nothing. You know, hold your feelings to yourself. That's the enemy, bro, because he knows that there is power and healing involved when you share your testimony. And it's not just so other people can be blessed. Yes, other people will experience, you know, healing and deliverance and encouragement and all these other things when you share your story. But you also overcome. That's how you overcome, bro, by opening up your mouth and saying, hey, I ain't got it all together. I need help. Like, I'm struggling. And you don't want to do it publicly at first. You know what I'm saying? I ain't telling you to go start a podcast or go shout it out from the mountaintops. Like, no, there are snakes in the grass. You got to watch out. But go find you a trusted professional. Find you some people that love you and that cut for you. And find you a circle of people that will actually hold you accountable in love. That's how you do it. It starts there, bro.
Man, you just spoke. Man, I'm telling you, that's the key right there. And then when you talk about like even the things that we go through and we have to share, you know, for those who are silent and not wanting to share, because it's women that go through that as well, obviously. And we were just taught that way, you know, to just keep our mouths shut, just like you said. But it really does a lot for us, even when you talk about like forgiveness for a lot of the things that maybe we, you know, weren't taught, because, you know, a lot of us are upset with our parents or upset with our guardians because they didn't leave us with, you know, let's say money to help us to get ahead or whatever, sure. Or maybe even the principles, or maybe even some things to teach us to be more successful in life. And then we're holding that grudge against them. So we're mad. Or it could have been things that maybe we encountered as kids, you know, that we kept silent, that's bothering us today, because there's a lot of people who are affected by that, you know. But to your point, seeking professional help is really will really help you.
You got to get it out, man. You got to get it out. You can't keep it in you, because it'll fester. It'll turn into bitterness, and that bitterness is only affecting you. And people that you mad at, they live in their life. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, you got this bitterness growing deep inside of you, and until you get it out, it's gonna be all consuming to where you wake up and you thinking about it. You go into bed and you thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? And you can't live your life. So, luckily, in this day and age, in this era of humanity, there are outlets. You know, they're available. You can go online and find a professional near you. And they don't even have to be near you. It could be virtual, but you got to get it out.
And for those of you who work with companies that have like benefits and things like that, just so you know, you may have programs like EAP and stuff like that where you can have free.
I used my EAP. Listen.
And at one point in time, I didn't believe in therapy. Yeah, I didn't. You know, because growing up, the church I went to, you know, they were like, well, if it's not coming from the counselors in the church, then it's not godly counsel, which is false. You know, I'm not saying people in the church don't give good counsel, but they have to be licensed professionals, you know, and so we really encourage you to do that. Okay. I mean, I think this is a good stopping point. and just so y'all know, I mean, me and Dave, we met several years ago, but this is really probably our second time really just sitting down and just really talking to each other. We did it this way purposely, because we wanted it to be organic, and we're going to be bringing you more discussions around this, because we know it's important, especially for the month of June, but it's important in general. But we know that we are recognizing, men's mental health awareness month. Sorry, I stumbled on that. But it's something that you're going to be hearing a lot probably on social medias across many platforms. But we need to continue talking about these things and making sure that we all get help, because we need it. Anything you want?
No, man, I think that this is special. I'm excited. I think conversations like this are necessary. I think we have, somewhat of a duty or calling, as creatives who have these cameras and things like that to share. And I'm just grateful, man, that you reached out. Because I was done with this. I was done. I get these kind of calls and offers quite often, man. But God set it up in such a way that I was like, I can't not do this, man. So I'm just appreciate you thinking of me, man. I'm excited, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. But won't you tell people how they can find you, and follow you?
Yeah. Oh man, it's super easy, man. All you gotta do is Google me. No, I'm just playing. I am not Googleable, but you can find me on Instagram. That's the platform I'm most active on at the THE. So THE David Settle. That like settle down. The David Settle on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I think I'm on TikTok. I don't know. Somebody set up a TikTok account for me a while ago. But I'm there. You can find some of my books on Amazon. Just, type in my name, David Settle. And if this gets dropped before June 14th, you can come check me out at Match Theater. I'm delivering my very first TEDx talk. Super, super excited. And if you miss it live, I know it'll be posted online pretty soon. So anyway, man, it's going down.
All right, make sure you follow my guy. And then for those of y'all know me, but jp.haney, that's Instagram. TikTok is The Real JP Haney. All right, until next time, because stay tuned. We got more for you. We'll see y'all later. All right.